Hello and welcome to another podcast edition of Taiwan Talk, ICRT's weekly interview segment, bringing you conversations from and about Taiwan. I'm Keith Manconi. Today on the show, we're going to be speaking to a young Taiwanese-Filipino director who's gained recognition for her work from the Cannes Film Festival. You know, the one in France? Yeah, that one. The director is Rina Tsou, and her independently produced short, Arnie, made it past more than 1,000 other submissions earlier this year to be accepted into what's called the International Critics Week. This is kind of a side competition highlighting the works of young, up-and-coming directors. The film portrays the life of the titular character, Arnie, who is a Filipino fisherman serving aboard a Taiwanese fishing boat. In this scene that we're hearing right here, Arnie tells his crewmates about what he's going to do once he's saved enough money to leave the ship.
Up and down.
So he's saying here, he dreams of owning a home, maybe with a swimming pool out back, pool table inside, nothing too fancy. But even these modest plans get derailed when the realities of life on the seas catch up with him. Now, this is a very personal film for its director, who has a Filipino mother and a Taiwanese father, and grew up in both countries. I got her in studio recently to discuss the film and her perspective living between these two identities. Rina Tsou, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, this character, Arnie, in your film, he goes through quite a lot of ups and downs. He finds out that the relationship he has with his girlfriend is not quite what he thought it was. He goes through a storm. You dump a whole storm on this guy. Tell us a little bit about what attracted you to this project. What about this character? What about this story got you interested?
I'm quite a how do you say it, intuitive kind of filmmaker. So when I write things, it usually summons upon me. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really thought about making a film about fishermen before, but I was in Kaohsiung for another reason, and then I just bumped into a group of fishermen in a Filipino food shop. And I was there with a friend who looks darker than me. So they kept watching us and wondering what a Taiwanese girl is doing in that shop. And then when we finished our meal, I decided to, sum up my courage and talk to them. And then I got to know them and realized that, there's Filipino fishermen in Kaohsiung. I didn't know that. And they're so young. They're like 23 under. And I realized, wow, there's a lot going on that I didn't know that is happening around me. So I got to know them, and I was inspired by one of the stories of one of the fishermen whose name was Arnie. Arnie.
Pretty similar.
Yeah. And that was it. I thought maybe I could write something about it, but it didn't happen after. And then I thought about the encounter we had, because they said none. They haven't seen any Taiwanese going to that food shop before. So that's why they kept watching us. And I thought this is really something magical, because I just happened to be there. I got lost in a way and happened to be there. And then they happened to be there. So our encounter is in a way magical.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that story also illustrates it. In a way, it really shouldn't be magical, because we all
ironically, yes.
We all live right next to each other. So the fact that we don't have more of that interaction is kind of the incredible thing.
Yeah. So I thought about the concept of this parallel world, and I wanted to make a short film about it. And so I wrote about this guy Arnie, the fisherman, and his magical encounter with a Taiwanese girl, which he will be about to meet after his, sad the sad thing that happened to him.
So some good stuff happens too.
Kinda.
All right, we won't spill too much of the plot right here. But the project that you have here really reminds me of another interview that I did recently. I recently talked to a group called the 140 Foundation. They do a lot of work with Indonesian guest workers. And aside from some of the more social work type stuff that they do, they also try to set up kind of meet and greets between Taiwanese people, Indonesian workers, just kind of facilitating them getting to know one another. It seems like, in a way, you're trying to give audiences a chance to meet Arnie, who is, as your story just kind of illustrated, somebody that they don't always get a chance to meet.
I think that's exactly the point of the film, because the first part of the film is actually something that we don't see as Taiwanese people. We don't see, because normally in our perception, the foreign workers are tired, or sad, or exploited, or everything is so negative about them being here. They must have some reason or something. But actually, Filipinos are very enthusiastic, very passionate people, and life, no matter how hard it gets, they're still happy, and they still try to be happy within one another. So that's a huge part of something that I wanted to show to the audience worldwide, that no matter how hard things get, there is some joy in life. And I think that is why you feel more impacted by the sadness that he encounters later, because you know that this is a person that you can connect with, because you have the same reason to be happy or sad with.
Right. So it's just a guy going through some stuff, pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, this film also kind of comes out of your own personal experience in a way. You came to Taiwan when you were 10 years old, I've read.
Yeah.
And you encountered a little bit of your own cultural gap at the time. Having lived in the Philippines for most of your childhood, I think you spoke some Chinese, but it probably wasn't completely as fluent as the other kids at school.
I cannot remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but so is that cultural gap that you kind of ran into, is that part of the motivation for this film as well?
I had that motivation from my graduation film, which is called Chicharon. It's part biographical about a little girl coming back to Taiwan for the first time, which is a homeland she feels a stranger to. And I think the motivation is different here. It's more of a cultural shock than a cultural gap, I think. And I think it's based on ignorance to what's really going on with each other. It's like we imagine foreigners to be different, but actually, fundamentally, we're the same. But because we imagine them different, so we think of different things, and then we cause misunderstandings. Yeah, so like earlier I said before, I wanted them to see how much we have in common emotionally. Yeah.
And it is pretty interesting that you focus on, in the first part of the film, we're kind of following around his life working on the boat, him hanging out with his friends, joking around, laughing. It is interesting that you focus on that because, a lot of, if you watch some of the films that come out of Cannes, often, for example, if they were going to focus on refugees or something like that, it's just tragedy, tragedy, tragedy. And you're taking something of a different tack.
Yeah, that's exactly. Because I'm part of this, immigrant group. So when I see films that's always tragedy, 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 I can't feel connected. And sometimes I think, no, we're not that sad all the time. Yeah, we still feel happy. We still enjoy food and friendship.
And karaoke. I mean, that's a huge connection between Taiwan and the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, my films, people have told me that they enjoy the little moments of joy in it, because that's not really common in other films that probably focus on, like you said, refugees or immigrants. Yeah.
So now you did screen this film originally for a foreign audience. Would you say that there's a different takeaway for that audience than for a Taiwanese audience, or is it more a universal thing than you might think?
In my mind, I filmed this for Taiwan because it is a very Kaohsiung story, and for me, it's like a melody.
He goes
of the
overboard
city.
and ends up in Kaohsiung.
Yeah,
is part of the plot there.
Yeah, and the place itself is in Kaohsiung, so you can just stop by there and feel the vibes, feel the immigrant workers. But when we screened in Cannes, I realized that this is something really universal, especially in Europe, because of the refugee, the immigrants. Basically, this whole world is fluid. So in a way, each of us can take part in that film and feel something that we're connected to. Yeah, that's something that I realized afterwards. Yeah.
Let's talk about the cast that you put together for this, because when we see what's going on screen, we're not looking at actors. We're looking at people that are actual fishermen, people that are used to being on a boat. Why did you decide to go that route? Is it sort of an authenticity thing? Is it a budget thing? What was the motivation there?
Definitely a budget thing. Because initially I thought about approaching some Filipino actors and have them come over, at least for the Arnie character, have them come over and play the part. But we only had the funding we got from the Kaohsiung Film Festival. And it's totally not enough because for somebody to come over from the Philippines, they even have to have like bank account statements with the sum of money that our budget can cover.
Right.
Yeah. So and then we realized out of mistake that the boats are actually leaving by December, which we thought was only leaving in January. So we pushed our whole schedule ahead 1 month. And we had to have the cast. So we just rushed down and we tried to capture people from the harbor. Yeah, but luckily, after a few days there, like printing out the pictures of the candidates we want and waiting there and asking them to drag him over.
So how did people react when you walked up and you said, "Hey, fisherman, you want to be in a movie?"
There's two reactions to that. One is because I'm a girl, and the harbor's basically all male.
Yeah.
And after 6 months, that's how long it takes on sea. Not seeing any female, and they see me, and they're super excited. So they're super friendly.
So it might have gone differently if I tried to recruit them.
You would never meet them.
No interest whatsoever. Okay, so
maybe some.
Depends. Oh yeah, we don't want to put everybody into a box.
Yeah, and the other part is this is actually entertainment for them because working on the ship is hard, and usually because there's a lot of fishermen and the captain has to be. I think he has to be a tyrant in a way for all the different nationalities to really listen to him and don't turn over the boat. Yeah, so in a way, it's a very the sense of hierarchy is really strong, and when they have young, bubbly, friendly people asking them, "Hey, do you want to be on a film?" So for them, it's entertainment, and we feed them well, and we hang out with them. Right now, we're still like Facebook friends, and we have messages all the time. So for them, it's a fresh
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, breath of fresh air out of their real life. Yeah, so they said yes.
Okay, so you sold them on the project. You got them in the film. What was it like working with? Because you've made a number of films in the past. Most of those have actors with film experience. What was it like working with a cast that was fresh off the boat?
Actually, for the films that I've made before, the majority are non-actors.
Oh, really? Okay, so this was not new to you.
Yeah, but the new thing was 90% of them are Filipino, and I'm the only one in my crew that speaks Filipino, Tagalog. So you would see on set that we would be talking in Tagalog, and then the crew would understand it.
Yeah.
And I would say, cut, and there's, okay.
Now what?
Yeah, now what? So the pressure was higher. And another thing is, this is actually my first time portraying a male protagonist. For my other short films, I had female or girls. So for a group of Filipino male fishermen, like a boy band on set, is actually something that also a challenge for me.
You've got to be the CEO. You've got to be, directing everybody to where they need to be.
Yeah, I had to be super hyper if I want them to be energetic. And I have to pull away Arnie, and we would talk in the corner, and I would try to recall his past sad memories in order for him to, have that sad emotions and really cry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the tears were like diamonds.
You're just pulling all these sad emotions out of him.
Yeah, so in a way, I had to be in the same or even higher state that I want them to be, because they don't know how or why I want them to be that way.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a very almost intimate directing process.
It's very. We have to share a lot of secrets.
Now, let's just talk a little bit about the indie film scene in Taiwan.
Okay.
So the way that this was made is you worked with the Kaohsiung Film Festival. They helped get it funded. And you've also said that in order to, get enough clout in sort of the film industry in Taiwan, you do need to get some kind of a big name, and film festivals is a helpful way to get that. So tell us a little bit about how you string this all. I guess what I'm getting at is you seem like a pretty scrappy person, is the sense that I'm getting. You threw this all together. Tell us a little bit about what that takes in Taiwan's indie film industry.
I can't say I'm really knowledgeable about this because I've just started for over a year. Mm-hmm. And our script was actually selected. They had this short film fund in Kaohsiung, and they select 5 script for each selection, and they have 2 selections each year. Mm-hmm. So maybe because, this is something that comes from another perspective as a director for me. Yeah. So they selected our script. Mm-hmm. So we got the money, very, very little money. So we managed to make the film. And Cannes was very, very out of our expectations because when we submitted, it was not finished yet. And I only submitted because one of my friends told me, oh, you can submit for this one because they have shorts programs. And I said, okay, there's like 2 days before deadline. So I just submitted the working cut. Mm-hmm. And we didn't expect anything. We just kept on with our regular post-production schedule. And then suddenly a mail flew in and everything just blew up. But in a way, I think it would be reasonable to say that if you do have a big name tagged along your film career, it would be easier, or it would be more reassuring for investors or for other film companies or collaborators to work with you. Because like me, I'm a relatively new director. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I graduated in 2013, but I worked for festivals. Mm-hmm. And then I only started to really make films again 1.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So this is all coming very, very fast, and I'm trying to get a grasp of it, and trying hard to do anything I can to sustain as a filmmaker.
What kind of response did the film get when you screened it in France? Big response?
Yeah, it had really nice response, and it was funny because the 10 short films they selected in our section were totally different. So we were surprised to see how and why they would choose each one of us and put us all together. And in a way, I think it also broadens our minds because we know, there's a lot of ways to make a film and to tell a story, and each of us kind of represent an angle of inspiration to each other. Yeah.
It's very putting a lot of good minds together there.
Yeah, and also they did tell me that the Taiwanese cinema is really something the French people desire and love and anticipate to watch. Because in a way, He Xiaoxian, Edward Yang, those legends, those masters have given them the nutrition they had growing up and becoming, the film critics or the film festival curators they are right now. So in a way, we go there as young filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers, but also in a way we have that responsibility carrying like a nation's future or something. That's how they tell us.
Oh, really?
It's really, really like...
No pressure.
Yeah. Oh my God, the pressure. Yeah, so you really... I'm really appreciative of the chance they gave me, of the honor they gave me. So in a way, I want to try harder for that, so I won't let them down.
Did you make a good impression, do you think?
I think so. Yeah, and
a lot is riding on that. If you give somebody a weak handshake or you look at them the wrong way, that's...
Oh, I give them strong handshakes.
Okay, good. Actually, I noticed that. I noticed that when you shook my hand. Very strong handshake. All right, so let's look forward just a little bit so we can tell our listeners how they might watch this film. It's going to be screened for the first time in the Kaohsiung Film Festival this October. Is that right?
Yeah, we will have our Taiwanese premiere in Kaohsiung Film Festival in October, and the shorts program will take place in two different areas. One, of course, in Kaohsiung, but one also in Taipei. For this year, they will have that first try to screen at the same time during the festival. In case, there are some audience that could not travel to Kaohsiung for the festival, they would have the chance to see the shorts.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. And then you're going to be rolling it out at other festivals and in other locations.
Yeah, right now we're waiting for confirmation or selection for different festivals. Our next step will be Melbourne International Film Festival in Australia. Oh. And the others we're still waiting. So maybe, you can look us up on Facebook.
Right, there is a Facebook page for Arnie. You can look it up there. The last point that I kind of want to close on is just reflecting on your work a little bit. You do kind of have this focus on the relationship between Taiwan and the Philippines. A lot of your films are kind of looking at that relationship. What are your thoughts on that right now? Of course, there are a lot of Philippine workers in Taiwan in various industries, not just the fishing industry. There's also the caretaking industry, various factories. And that's sometimes a fraught relationship. I mean, if we look at Indonesia, now we're kind of looking to a totally different relationship. They're threatening to ban their workers from coming to Taiwan because of allegations of abuse. So what are your thoughts on the state of that relationship between Taiwan and the Philippines?
I haven't done much research on that part, but from personal experience, I think...
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean in terms of diplomacy. I guess I just mean more on like the person-to-person level.
Oh, okay. Like my films, there are happy and sad moments. So in my films, there are no bad people, not necessarily bad people, because from my experience, people make bad choices or bad actions, but they don't necessarily are bad people. So in the case of abuses, I think it's the same. Or in the case of maybe workers that are not so ideal to the employers, I think that's also the same. I think what we need is patience, and patience needs understanding. And I think that's something that we hope to accomplish or maybe spur up through our films. And actually, maybe because of my background, so I have the chance to see a lot of relationships between the Taiwanese and the Filipinos. So somehow it reflects more on my films. But actually, that's not the only topics that we would write and direct in the future. It's just in comparison with other filmmakers, I see that all the time. So I get the inspiration more probably and in proportional.
You're just a little bit more sensitive to it. You notice it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I know the language, so I get deeper feelings with it. Yeah.
I mean, is there a real challenge there, kind of getting back to what you were talking about in terms of in Kaohsiung that one day, people not interacting at all? Yeah, I mean, is there a barrier that needs to be overcome there, or is it really just a matter of somebody needs to take the first step, say hello, start making friends?
I think it's not only between, Filipinos and Taiwanese. I think it's a whole social thing because I'm sorry to tell you, but yeah, it's a racial thing. Yeah, and it's not only happening in Taiwan, it's happening all over the world. Look at Europe right now. Look at England right now. Yeah, so I think it's not only a personal initiative thing, but perhaps I don't know how. I don't know how we can make it better. But for me, I only know how to make films, so I use films. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have been speaking today about the film Arnie, and speaking to Rina Tsou. She is a filmmaker in Taiwan. Rina, very good to speak with you today.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Thanks for listening to another podcast edition of Taiwan Talk. You can find links to that Facebook page, along with a link to a trailer for the film on the ICRT blog. While you're there, please do leave a comment. Always love to hear what you're thinking. And that audio behind me, by the way, is from that film trailer. So that's, just gives you a sense of a little bit of what the film sounds like. Definitely do check out the trailer itself. And remember, the whole film will be premiering in Taiwan this October, both in the north and south. So look forward to that as well. That is it for the show today. For Taiwan Talk, I am Keith Manconi. See you next time.